So, welcome, Sam. So, welcome to John's podcast thingy, which is, I don't know what it is. We're kind of making it up.
Let's find out, isn't it?
So, it's nice to have you on the show, if we can call it a show.
Very nice. Yeah.
See if anybody ends up watching or listening back to it. But it's great to have you. Great to see you again. Great to catch up.
Thanks,
so, I thought, do you want to, just for the benefit of anyone who's listening, do you want to give like a 1 minute kind of intro about yourself and what you do, where you've come from, which might be quite tough to do.
I can. Yeah, I know. I've literally just said I've been terrible at this, but I've got some experience, so it's fine. I think technically I'm a junior developer. I've been studying and working and learning a lot over the last, I think I'm actually coming up to my 1 year anniversary of it, which is cool. I think I've been in this, so I've been in this industry for about a year, like properly. I've been learning mostly PHP on Laravel framework, and it's been predominantly a RESTful API that was built before I was there, and then I've had to basically learn the code base and like be able to make whatever alterations to it. Next to that, there's been a few other projects running at the same time that are a bit more simple. And I think development-wise, I'm a lot more back-end than front-end. I understand how front-end works, like in theory. I think I'm the type of developer that hates doing it, though. I'm not a big fan of it. It feels very fiddly to me. But, if I have to do it, I'm a junior. I don't get much say in it,
I guess you can mess around with templates, I imagine.
Yeah.
Do you use Tailwind? Have you been using Tailwind a bit?
Do you know what? Yes, I do. At first, I was like, wow, this is amazing.
Love it or hate it?
I loved it at first. I did. I really, really, really loved it at first. But recently, I've had to use Tailwind on a project that is run by a senior developer that is predominantly front-end. So I learned it with a guy that was predominantly back end. So it all made sense. It was all by the book. But now I've been working with a guy who's predominantly front end. It's a lot different working with those guys because CSS means nothing to them. It's easy. They could write CSS in their sleep. So all of the processes of making a development version of the CSS versus a production version, then putting that onto Git and all of this stuff, there's been a lot of trip-ups recently. I've messed up a lot.
A learning experience.
It's been a big learning experience. It's been fun. I think at the moment I hate Tailwind because it's causing me new stresses. But I think once I've got my head around it, I'll go back to loving it again because it just,
nice.
I don't mind the whole inline thing. I know people like to shout, there's too many classes and blah, blah, blah. It doesn't bother me. It's fine. You want to see the data sets I have to deal with. It's nothing compared to that. It's fine. So I do. I like the idea of it very much. I do. But other than that,
awesome. I think with most things in tech, we have a love-hate relationship with stuff, right?
Yeah, and it can change. It changes here and there. Different versions bring different problems, different solutions and stuff. Other than that, I live in Spain. I'm from London.
Awesome.
And I think that's about it. Yeah. I don't
know
what else can I say?
Cool. So, there's always more, isn't there? But we could go on for days. We need, some of us, I think, once we get talking about ourselves, we just we could write our memoirs. But I'm not quite there yet. What would you say? Because you got into tech later in life, which is awesome, and a lot of people online, like on Twitter and stuff, are kind of doing similar. And everybody's journey is unique. I think that's something to highlight as well, right? There isn't kind of a magic formula or like a magic roadmap. And I'm a great advocate of just encouraging people to explore their own journey, right? Because it'll be random conversations or random connections that'll often end up being the biggest break. But from your point of view, what are some of the biggest lessons you've learned in getting into tech that might translate to other people or might be useful to other people?
The biggest lessons, to be honest, I think the biggest lesson so far that I've that I've come across was actually learning how to learn again. Sort of once, because I got into it, like I was very lucky. Like I've got a friend who's basically my mentor, who has been in this since he like was a kid, sort of thing. He's been programming forever and ever and ever. So that he's got that side of things. I started now because of him telling me to, and he gave me like basically a roadmap of, right, study this, study this, study this, study this, and then I can give you this work to do. So I went along with that, and I just attacked it the way I thought was best at the time. It's like, yeah, I'm going to watch all these tutorials, I'm going to read this documentation, and then I'll be able to do it. And that was not the case. That was not the case at all. And I think from like watching things on social media and stuff, it seems that people get, well, not everyone, like a big chunk of people get really put off by that. And it was only because I had to learn how to do this. I didn't have any other options. But it didn't become comfortable until I taught myself how to learn stuff again. And I think it's one of them things that's different for everybody. Like the way one person learns is probably not going to be the same way that I learn. And it was a lot of trial and error. It was a lot of trying this way, trying that way, combine this with that, combine that with this. And eventually I think I've arrived on a way that kind of works for me. So look, like when you're doing this, you always have to do different stuff. You know, you're forever, like it's a constant learning thing. Like, I was told that from the beginning, and it's absolutely true. But it's getting comfortable with that flow, like of, right, I need to know how to do this. So that means I need to go and find this documentation. I need to read it, figure out what bits I'm missing from being able to understand that completely, go away, get those bits of context or whatever, and then come back, read it, apply it, see how it works, then check your error messages and then fix it from there. It's only really recently. And like I say, I've been doing this almost a year, and I've done it a year, like as a full-time job. I wasn't in a position where I had a job and I was only able to study 1 or 2 hours. No, I was waking up in the morning. I sent my kid to school. I studied for however many hours straight, picked him up from school, put him with his mum, his grandma, put him somewhere, and then came back and studied another 4 or 5 hours. I was getting at least 8 hours a day, 5 days a week for months and months and months. And it still took me this long to figure out how to actually like learn stuff effectively, quickly, you know, like on the fly sort of thing, which you need to be able to do. Like unless you're very lucky and you literally only do like 1 or 2 specific things, and you have a constant stream of clients that ask you for the same thing over and over again, and you're just churning it out. But from what I see and the work I've been doing, it's not like that at all.
No, there's always something new.
The technology changes constantly. There's always new versions. There's always breaking changes. There's always... So, you have to be comfortable reading the documentation. You have to be comfortable continuing reading, knowing that you didn't understand what you just read, but continue reading anyway. And then eventually, like later on, you'll be like laying in bed and be like, that makes sense now. And then that like unlocks an entire chunk of what you read. And then the next day you come back and you apply it and you're like, that was it. Do you know what I mean?
It's been comfortable not knowing.
Right? You have to be okay with that.
And then like pushing through.
I really wasn't to start with. Like I really, really wasn't okay with not knowing stuff. It used to frustrate me. I'd get very, very angry. I'd end up at the end of the 8 hours, my shoulders would be up here because I'd be so stressed. Like, I've read this 8 times. How do I not understand it? It doesn't, like, am I stupid or something? And I get really angry with myself. And like, it's just, you know, for me anyway, that's not the way. It doesn't work. Read it, don't understand it, it's fine. Continue with something else, get some context.
Yeah. I think learning, like our brains aren't linear. This is something I go on about occasionally because I'm in education. I kind of teach quite a bit, but also I kind of love learning new things when I can, although I don't really have the luxury to learn new things as often as I can. Often it's maybe because I have to teach, or maybe because I have a small project that I'm working on. But our brains aren't linear, And so learning isn't linear. So these kind of linear roadmaps and stuff where it's like, do this for 10 days, do this for 3 months. And not only is it different for different people, but the way our brains make connections. It's like, so you need to throw stuff at it and then you'll come back to it again, and knowledge builds by you making connections between sort of facts. It's not about memorizing. But I have like a shoddy memory, and so I've been coding maybe since I was a teenager, maybe on and off for like 20 years, right? But I'll still like Google basic, syntax, because you memorize the concepts, right, and the kind of how to solve problems rather than the kind of exact detailed sort of syntax, and you learn what you need to learn, right? So for you, like how quickly you basically went from zero to kind of quite high speed kind of learning, sort of full days, like almost like 9 to 5, 5 days a week learning. And how soon after you started did you start doing what you class as, well, like maybe paying work? Like when you're doing like real work for it?
To be honest, the way it was set up, I was sort of taken on as an intern, but they sort of saw me through because they knew, like, we need someone to do exactly this. These are the things you're going to need to learn. We're happy to wait 6 months for you to be able to do this. Once you can do it,
that's cool.
You try and do little bits, and they've been really, really good with me. The guys I work with, they've been fantastic, very supportive, and yeah, they sort of just trickled stuff from very early on. They were like, "Here, try this. This is not an essential thing.
Yeah.
See how you feel with it." And I was banging my head against the wall for 5 days trying to do something that would take me about 6 minutes now. But I can only do it in 6 minutes now because back then I went through every single thing, every step, every, checking, doing, flipping dumps here, there, everywhere. Okay, what data is coming back there? Okay, how do I need to manipulate that? What function do I need to? And only because I did all of these things, I can now comfortably do it. I mean, a basic thing. I'm like, when it comes to complex stuff, I'm going back to banging my head on the wall, but you got to start somewhere.
I suppose the fact that you've seen yourself progress, though, that you can get there.
Exactly, and it helps, and that I think has only come with time. Like there's no way, even if I could speak to myself now back then, I would have told myself this, and then I would have been like, I don't believe you. I'll only believe it when I see it, sort of thing, and it is like that for me anyway. Like it's once I've got a bit further and I look back on, that's what I used to do. Oh, that was terrible. Oh my God, I wouldn't do it like that now. But at least.
I think that's why reflection on what is actually such an important part of learning. This is another thing I go on about in some of the classes I teach. I think there was a quote that, like you don't learn from experience. You learn from reflecting on your experience. And I think that's a great quote because, just by going through stuff, it applies to life as well, right? Lots of people don't necessarily learn from experience because the same old stuff keeps on happening to them and they don't change. But like, we all done that to a certain extent. But like by reflecting on how far you've come or what you've done, like really deepens the lesson. So that's if you're learning anything, I think it's really powerful.
For sure.
But that's really cool. And having little tasks being drip fed to you from a team, like from a real team, the best kind of learning is through like real problems, right? It's contextual learning. So that sounds ideal. What were the kind of tasks that you were given? Just have you got any examples?
Trying to think. Back then it was, what were we doing? Right. So it was.
And was this on Laravel?
This was on Laravel. Yeah. So it was working with, and it was the API that provided everything, basically. So it was looking at the structure of articles that were made essentially with a block editor. So there was, it was an API with an admin panel attached to it, and then the publisher's could access that, build their articles, and it was stored in a database. So a lot of the stuff had to do with just building the JSON resources in a particular way so that the front end guy could then take exactly what he wanted and display it in this way and that way according to what the client wanted. Really. Cool. So yeah, it was mostly messing with arrays. I mean, it's PHP is what you do now.
Yeah. So you were given like a spec of what it needed to look like, and then you kind of had to implement it.
Not even what it needed to look like. It was the structure of what he wanted. It was like, it looks like this now. I want it to look like that, or we need to add this here, or yeah.
Cool. I think and working on existing code bases as well is like totally different from building something from scratch, isn't it? And but so important, because that's where most jobs in tech are often working on existing code bases.
Yeah, I learned. I think most of my learning.
That's a good lesson.
Yeah, most of my learning came from reading that code base, which was written by them, and comparing that to the documentation, and it was a lot. It was a lot.
Awesome. So you were telling me offline recently about your bit of a recent love-hate relationship with WordPress that you've been working with. Do you want to? Let's dig into that, shall we? Yeah. Let's have a little a WordPress therapy session.
Jesus, yeah. So no, do you know what? It's because last time we spoke, you mentioned about like WordPress being a good shout, like because I was talking about finding a job,
so it's my
extra
fault.
work and finding extra clients and stuff like that. And obviously, you can't work in tech and not have heard of WordPress. So I should have looked into it, but because I've learned Laravel from the beginning, and it's that style of framework, then dipping into WordPress and trying to understand that. I was like, oh, wow, this is entirely upside down to what I understand. This is the opposite. Yeah. This is horrendous. I don't know what I'm looking at. I don't understand. It's at first, like the first week of trying to do things with it, like I could literally only manage some CSS tweaks here and there, because a lot of the issues that I needed to fix were like just changing alignments and putting some margin here and there. Actually, no, you'll like it, because a lot of the problems came because before I inherited the project, the guy that was running it installed Tailwind on the WordPress project, but then didn't finish setting it up properly. So it was just a lot of trimming this, that, and the other, removing this, and But it took me a good 4 or 5 days of going through it to understand what file had what where, and it wasn't for it was longer than I'd like to admit that I was like, that's actually in the database. Right. So there's loads of these essential things that I'm used to having right here in my text editor that I can change here and there. Yeah, it doesn't exist here. It's not a variable. It's an actual value in a database somewhere. And then you have to understand the structure of the database. And it's amazing for people that don't code. Absolutely, like 100%. I see that. If you want a website and you don't want, and you're not comfortable writing code, it's wicked. It's amazing. The graphic interface is fantastic. But then when you're asking a developer to make specific changes that are outside the scope of that admin panel that WordPress has, takes some getting used to, definitely.
It kind of has its origin in the sort of spaghetti code Wild West of the internet.
A little bit.
And I think one of the beauties of a framework, right, is that people generally, there's a way of using it, and like for example in Laravel, you've got, even between different versions of Laravel, you've got models, you've got views, you've got controllers, you've got maybe database migrations and all the other kind of good stuff, and roughly where they should be and kind of how to edit them. With WordPress, you can do whatever the heck you want, and different themes, different plugins will implement things differently. There's no kind of standard way of doing it. And then, yeah, if you have to make a styling change, like, do you make it in the style sheet, or do you make it in the custom CSS stuff, which is like stored in the database? Or do you need to like add it in line in a plugin file? Like, you know, where'd you go?
Yeah.
So I suppose those are all the issues you
have been,
kind of encountered,
yeah,
right?
and it's been very stressful. I felt like I was way back a year ago when I was looking at Laravel and had no idea what I was doing.
Yeah.
It's humbling.
Did it kind of make you appreciate the structure of like frameworks like Laravel more?
Absolutely. Yeah, 100% it did. Because also before, I think it was literally 3 days before I took this stuff on, I'd applied. No, I didn't even apply. I followed a lot of your advice with LinkedIn. Yeah. I had my LinkedIn set up nicely, and I was approached by a recruiter for a company that's actually quite local to me. And the job description didn't really say that they were looking for a WordPress developer, but I figured out later on from looking at their website and like the way it was, I was like, they just wanted a WordPress developer. They sent me, I did an interview with the recruiter. I thought it went terribly, but I still got, sent the technical assessment thing. So I got sent a very vague technical assessment, and it said, can you please build for us a, registration form and login form in pure PHP, and you can include MySQL, and you can use a little bit of HTML and CSS if you want. That's it. That's all it said. It was literally like 3 lines like that. No mention of WordPress whatsoever. And at this point, I'd not actually looked at WordPress, and I didn't really, I didn't have a good sense of what it was. So I was like, oh, damn, like, okay, I can write PHP. Oh, also the fourth line, I tell a lie, the fourth line was, it needs to be as secure as possible. So I was like, okay, they want it to be secure, right? I'll write this. I'll make this happen, like what they want, in only PHP, nothing more. No frameworks. Like, you're not allowed to use frameworks. I understand MySQL. Okay, right, cool. So I went away. They kept ringing me and saying, have you done it yet? Have you done it yet? Have you done it yet? And I was like, well, no, I haven't done it yet. You want me to write something massive? Like, I'm not going to do that in 1 hour. Are you crazy? I'll send it to you tonight. So I spent like a good 2 or 3 hours on it. I've ended up writing a whole bunch of validation classes, a whole bunch of sanitation, like a lot. Like, yeah, more than I wanted to do. But if it was going to be secure, it needed all of these things, in my opinion. Like, not understanding that WordPress has all of this covered already. This is the problem. So I've written all of this stuff, like 18 files, I think it was. I've put it into a Git, into a GitHub repository, and I've sent them a link to the GitHub repository. And I was like, there it is. It's got everything. It's got a nice README file. I tell you, I even give them not the script, for the MySQL, creating the database and filling it with whatever dummy data. Like, I wrote all of that for them. And I was like, here you go, just put this in your thing. It'll run the database, open up index.php, boom, you'll have your thing. And it worked. It was wonderful. Like, I was so proud. It was so nice. What I made, up until then, I wasn't sure that it could be done. And I wasn't 100% sure of my abilities of creating something like that from those things. Like, I can create a website using Laravel framework, and I can create a website using just HTML and CSS. I'd never really mixed a bit of PHP and blah, blah, blah. Or done all of that validation, like, separately, because most frameworks have that built in. So you never have to write any of it. But I was looking at the Laravel documentation. I was stealing bits from it. I was like, okay, I need that. I'm going to take that. I'm going to take that. It was like a Frankenstein of a thing. And it was huge. But it worked. And it worked for me nicely. And I sent it to them, and they didn't say nothing. Didn't say anything. Didn't say, no, this isn't what we were looking for. I even asked them. I said to them, because, again, as you advised in your fantastic book, which I will say until the day I die, or, like, make a conversation. Say to them, yeah, absolutely. No, because it was fantastic, that book. I swear to you. I was like, I'm very open to feedback. Please let me know what you think. Like, if there's anything you want improved, let me know. I'll improve it and send it back again. Like, I was way open to it, and they just completely ignored me. It was, yeah.
So did you hear anything
Absolutely
back?
nothing. Not even from the recruiter.
And how long ago was this?
This was, I don't know, weeks ago. Actually, I'll check. I'll have a look on my GitHub and I'll let you know. I can't remember. Can I see?
Yeah, cool. That's cool. I mean, at least you have it as like a project on your GitHub.
Yeah, man.
Your
and
profile,
that was some good work. I'm quite
which
proud.
I'll have to check it out. I mean, it's annoying when, I mean, there's a lot of, like in recruitment of tech talent, there's a lot of sort of disrespectful kind of behavior.
Yeah, it's just how it goes, though, isn't it? Like,
it could be even just silence isn't kind of.
It was a month ago.
Maybe you just blew them away so much that like they just like, dude, what are we doing with our lives? This guy is
because to be honest, from looking at their site,
maybe they've just quit.
From looking at their site, it was managed by someone who did not give a monkey's. Like, it was so slow.
Yeah.
It was basically, the whole website was just a gallery. It was a media gallery. And the loading time.
You probably pitch yourself as overqualified.
I didn't pitch myself. They asked me for something, I made it. That's it. And I was very humble. I said, hey man, if you got any like pointers, if you've got anything you want changed, let me know. You know, I'm trying to show I'm flexible here. You know, I'm responsive to feedback, but I didn't get any feedback.
Nothing. Well, you never know.
But I made a really cool project, so sod it. I don't care. I will be reusing.
They'll probably come back in like 2 months' time and they'll say, all right, yeah, can you start tomorrow?
No, mate, I cannot. Sorry. And then I'm gone.
It's like, my salary's just doubled. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's interesting. I think, there's a lot that you have to sort of put up with. I suppose that's another thing, which I think you may have said about like before, but like when people embark on like getting into tech and then they start doing interviews, it can be a bit of a slog.
Oh yeah, it's horrible. It's horrible.
And you need that psychological resilience. You need to sort of know what you're getting into before you get going. And the problem is, if you start applying to loads and loads of jobs, and you start getting invited back for quite a lot, you can risk being like completely swamped, right? I guess if you haven't got a job and you need it, anything else to do, and that's what you're doing, you're basically trying to find a job full time, and that's fine. But you can end up jumping through hoops, just like what the experience you've said, like, but on repeat.
Yeah,
right?
I wouldn't want to do that again.
Which can become demoralizing.
Mate, this was only one occurrence, and I was like emotionally on my ass for a week afterwards. I was like, I can't believe they didn't bloody reply to me. What the hell? Like, what did I do wrong? Am I like, I didn't do it good. I didn't do enough. Like, it was confusing. It was very confusing. But then it wasn't until I actually looked at WordPress and been like, oh, I overdid it. Okay. Never mind.
Maybe. Yeah. But then that shouldn't be an issue.
That's what I thought.
I suppose.
That's what I thought. Oh well.
Yeah, it can be tough, but and that's why I said, like, if you're looking for you ideally you want to be applying for as few opportunities as possible, right? But the ones that are like really aligned with what like you are, who you are, like what you do, because then not only does it like increase your chances, it kind of gives you an edge, and then you're not kind of burning yourself out. Yeah. But it's tough. I mean, I say all these things, but I haven't had to kind of go through that, right? I mean, because my background was just sort of, I started off scrapping around freelancing when I was young, anyway, and while living at home, so kind of slowly built it up. And like we were saying earlier, I haven't had to do many interviews in my life, but I suppose that, which I'm thankful for, because I think I'm like, I could do one maybe every 5 years, and that kind of like, that ties me out.
No, it is. It's exhausting. It really is, man. Having to think on the spot like that is, no, it's not nice.
Yeah, cool. No, but you're doing really well. So, a complete change of topic. So I remember like we originally connected, I think, partly because of like the PHP link and the Laravel, and also like you were into kind of we call it like classic literature, like good, good literature. But like, what would you say? Have you got like a top three fiction novels, or even like a favorite novel? It's always like I find that a really difficult question.
Favorite novel? No, I've got that locked and loaded, mate. Favorite novel is only it's a cool. Tiny one. It's the The Stranger. Yeah, 100%.
Cool.
That
nice.
like
by Camus,
yeah. After I read that, I was like, this is hands down the most important book I've ever read in my life. I bought it for my sister when she turned 18. I was like, you're an adult now. Read this. It will change your life. Like, and anyone that ever asked me, that's always my absolute first answer, because it, it did. It just changed the way I thought about myself and my place in the world, and it just made me. I still take stuff personally, but I sort myself out a lot quicker because of reading that book and being like, actually, it wasn't like that. It doesn't matter. It's not that deep.
Yeah.
But 100%.
No, that's really 100%. Cool. Awesome. Do you have like a top three? Do you have like a second and third place?
Second and third.
Or like authors? Favorite authors? Or?
Authors for fiction? I guess I'm going to be boring and say Camus, Tolstoy. Even though his books are so hard to digest, I can't get through them in one go. I always have to read them, put them down for a month or two, and then come back to them. Like, it's always too much. But the stories are really good. I don't know, actually. No.
It's tough.
I don't really read too much fiction, I don't read as much as I'd like.
Wait, are you reading much non-fiction?
I read boring stuff.
Any good reads?
What was that one? Favorite non-fiction ones? Probably ones like Sapiens, and the other one was it Homo Deus? Was the second one of that? That was fantastically. I love stuff like that, where it's just like anthropological facts after facts after facts after facts. I love that kind of stuff.
Nice. Overloading your brain.
Yeah, man. It's great. It's great. I love nerding out. There was another one, Prisoners of Geography. Who was that by? I think that came out around about the same time.
I haven't heard of it.
You have heard of it or not?
No, I haven't.
Okay. Prisoner of Geography, I can't remember who that was by, but then there was another one, Guns, Germs and Steel, by Jared Diamond. That was also fantastic. And that makes you not get so depressed by the news, I think.
Awesome.
Because it makes you kind of understand why politics is not politics necessarily, but like the mentality of like entire nations versus the mentality of an individual sort of thing. I think they're the most helpful reading I've ever done.
Yeah, I think what I enjoy reading, both fiction and non-fiction, is stuff that helps. It kind of just shines a light on reality, right?
Yeah, that's what
it just makes you kind of see the world.
Absolutely.
Sort of, whether in all its faults, or otherwise. You kind of. I don't read like so much happy stuff. It normally needs to. I think it was Kafka. It's like Kafka. Like Kafka was known for saying something like, "If I read a novel, if it's not going to like punch me in the stomach, then what's the point in reading it?" Sort of thing,
Well, no, is it? Wasn't Tolstoy quoted saying something along the lines of novelists are some of the most important, important things for humans, because they use your imagination to explore things that are like, your imagination is the safe place to go and explore these dangerous topics. Like, if you went into that in real life, you would destroy your life. But if you imagine yourself as the character going through that, you can take all the lessons without losing your house, your mortgage, your family.
Well, that's it. Learn from other people's mistakes.
Yeah. Because that's what you do when you're reading. tend to empathize with characters. I actually put that. No, I swear I told you that before. What was the one? The brothers Karaduda.
Oh, brothers
Yeah,
Karamazov.
I had to put that down.
Karamazov.
I was reading that for ages. Like, wow, this is such a good book. This is like an amazing story.
Yeah.
And then there was a point where you read it, right?
Yeah.
Remember the dad,
Yeah.
the father of the brothers. Yeah. I started to identify with him a little bit. And he's a piece of shit. Like, there's no better way. There's no other way to describe him. He's the worst human imaginable. And there's one point where he does something so disgusting, and I was like, "Oh, hang on, no, I've got too many similarities with this guy. No, I don't like myself. No, I can't read this anymore. Like, I have to finish the book because I need to find out what happens to him and like what the consequences are, and try and find a way that I can separate myself from him because I left it in a horrible place." But that's exactly what the importance of novels is, man. You know, it made me reflect upon myself, and I hope I've improved since reading that.
If they have depth, they can be like mirrors, right? Man. Yeah, it's very, very, very powerful. Yeah, awesome. I'm sure we'll have like more chats about that.
Yeah, well, I need to go away and read some more books.
I think this year I've read more than I have for a long time. So I've been like proper binging. Partly like audiobooks as well. Beginning of the year, I was listening to a lot of audiobooks. That meant I like listened to like 10 in a month. I never thought I'd be into audiobooks. I've
got a close mate who's telling me the same thing, and I just won't listen to him.
I went through a phase and I kind of enjoyed it. And I'm reading kind of ebooks as well. I'm mixing it up, mixing it up. But yeah, it's all good. So like final discussion points before we like log off. So these are like the super, super, super important questions.
Okay, let's go.
Like this is like really, really important.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah. You can probably see glint in my eye.
I think I know what's coming.
So we'll go easy.
Right, go on.
Okay, so first, high fives or fist bumps?
It depends.
No, it's a typical developer answer.
It really depends. It depends who I'm talking to. It does depend. I'm trying not to teach my son to do fist bumps because it just seems thuggish.
No.
Yeah, so when I'm around the kids, it's high fives all around, man. All the kids high five me. It's fantastic.
That's cool.
But then when I go home,
nice. There you go. Virtual high five.
Yeah, man. High five that because my kids
for the kids' benefit.
Yeah, he might hear me.
That's a very important point, though. It's very important. There's deep philosophical discussion there. That's why I ask these questions. That's why you come on John's podcast thingy to discuss these important philosophical questions. Squares or triangles?
Squares. Yeah.
Okay, cool. I respect that. I respect that, Sam.
Yeah.
When was the last time you rearranged your sock drawer?
About a week and a half ago. I got a new.
That's amazing.
I was over the moon. I got a new batch. My mother-in-law came back over from Romania, and she was like, "Here you go, Sam. I brought you a gift." And she handed me like 8 pairs of socks, and I did a little happy dance and went and rearranged my sock drawer. Real cool.
Amazing. Do you have to chuck some old socks out?
I know that I should, but I have a problem where I can't throw clothes away. I can't do it. Okay. This vest,
it's difficult to let go.
Yeah, this vest I've had longer than my son. I won't throw it away. It's tattered. It's falling apart. It's almost a thread.
But it's comfortable.
I know, right? It's precisely. Yeah.
All my jeans have to they get holes in awkward places before I have to my wife tells me to chuck them away, but it's like I don't want to.
No, see me, I'm even worse. It will get to that point. I'll just fold them up and put them underneath everything in the wardrobe, and then I don't have to throw them away. She doesn't see them. See,
it's just easier that way.
You don't feel bad.
It's tough to let go of these little guys. They have feelings.
You know what I mean? This is what I'm trying to tell my wife, but she doesn't want to listen. Yeah.
And on that note, related to socks, do you wear socks on the weekend?
Again, depends. Did I wear? I didn't wear socks this weekend.
Depends what kind of weekend.
I didn't wear socks this weekend because it's just started being like stupid hot over it.
That sounds good.
So this is the thing.
Flip flops.
I'll wear socks with flip flops actually.
Socks with flip flops. Outrageous! Oh my goodness! Trigger warning! Trigger warning!
It's a standard thing, right? This is how we're living. It's fun. It's fun. Yeah, I'm doing it right now.
Well, look, we just have to finish there because I just can't cope.
I'm sorry to
anymore.
do this to you, but it's standard procedure over here.
I need to question my life choices of not wearing socks and sandals.
Yeah, sliders and socks.
Obviously, there's a better way. Right, well, Sam, it's been a pleasure.
Likewise.
Thank you so much for joining this weird and wonderful video interview podcast.
Very happy to be a part of it. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, or maybe have you again. Enjoy your socks and sandals.
Mate. I will.